Star Trek: Strange New Worlds already set up how Captain Pike's crew can survive the Gorn. When Star Trek: Strange New Worlds introduced the Gorn as one of Captain Pike's Enterprise's greatest threats, it wasn't just a nostalgic nod to a classic original series villain. The series reimagined the Gorn not as men in rubber suits, but as terrifying predators closer to Ridley Scott's xenomorphs than to their lumbering 1967 counterparts. These new Gorn are faster, stronger, deadlier, and frighteningly intelligent, making every encounter feel less like a routine Starfleet mission and more like a survival horror story in space. But while the show has consistently presented the Gorn as nearly unbeatable, Strange New Worlds has also been quietly seeding story elements that may explain how Pike's crew could ultimately survive a full-on confrontation with them. Rather than rewriting continuity or resorting to an unbelievable deus ex machina, the series has already laid down the narrative breadcrumbs that show exactly how the Enterprise crew could make it through their Gorn struggles alive. Let's explore the major clues. 1. Lon Noonien Singh's trauma may be the crew's greatest weapon. Lon Noonien Singh's history with the Gorn is one of Strange New World's most important emotional through lines. As a child, she was one of the only survivors of a Gorn attack that claimed her family. That trauma has defined her life, leaving her with PTSD, survival instincts sharper than any other officer, and an encyclopedic knowledge of how the Gorn operate. In Season 1, Episode 4, Memento Mori, Lon's perspective is crucial in helping Pike survive a cat and mouse encounter with a Gorn ship. She knows their tactics, their arrogance, and most importantly, their blind spots. Later, in All Those Who Wander, she is again the key to helping the crew survive after a Gorn hatchling outbreak on a crashed vessel. This sets up Lon not simply as a survivor, but as the tactical counterbalance to the Gorn threat. Her knowledge of how they hunt, reproduce, and strategize makes her the crew's best hope. In fact, the Gorn's greatest advantage, being predators who see humans as prey, may be flipped against them once Lon helps the crew truly understand how they think. Her trauma, once a burden, may ultimately become the insight that saves everyone else. 2. Starfleet science always finds a way. One of Strange New World's most charming qualities is its faithfulness to Star Trek's optimistic vision of science and discovery. Even when things look dire, the Enterprise crew never fully abandons the scientific method. Against the Gorn, this pattern has already been established. In Memento Mori, Spock and Hemmer used physics, gravity wells, and clever shield manipulations to escape an ambush rather than relying on brute force. In All Those Who Wander, the crew discovered that extreme cold could slow or even kill young Gorn. This turned the environment itself into a defensive weapon. In Season 2, Hegemony, Dr. Mabenga and Nurse Chapel used biomedical improvisation to survive direct Gorn exposure, showcasing that medicine may hold the key to resisting Gorn biology. Each of these instances suggests that Gorn can be beaten, not through superior firepower, but through clever application of science, technology, and ingenuity. The message is clear. The Gorn are terrifying, but not invincible. 3. The cold as a natural equalizer. Perhaps the most important discovery so far is the Gorn's vulnerability to extreme cold. During All Those Who Wander, Spock and Lon observed that hatchlings exposed to freezing temperatures either slowed drastically or died outright. Unlike humans, the Gorn's reptilian physiology seems poorly adapted to survive in icy conditions. This could be a game changer. If Pike's crew can lure the Gorn into hostile environments, or recreate those conditions artificially, they could effectively neutralize an otherwise unstoppable predator. Starfleet already has access to environmental manipulation tools like cryogenic systems, atmospheric regulators, and transporter pattern buffers, any of which could become a weapon against the Gorn. It's the kind of detail that might feel minor at first, but in serialized storytelling, it's too significant to ignore. The Gorn's Achilles heel has already been revealed. It's only a matter of time before the crew exploits it fully. 4. Pike's leadership style will be the deciding factor. One of Captain Pike's most defining traits is his ability to bring out the best in his crew. He doesn't lead through fear or intimidation, he leads through trust, compassion, and inspiration. Time and again, his crew's survival has depended on his ability to unify them under impossible circumstances. Against the Gorn, this may prove more important than weapons or strategy. The Gorn thrive on exploiting panic, dividing their prey, and forcing disorganized humans into mistakes. Pike, however, has consistently demonstrated that when his crew faces chaos, he creates order. He listens to Lon's warnings, trusts Spock's calculations, and empowers Uhura's quick thinking. Survival against the Gorn won't be about one hero pulling off an impossible win. It will be about Pike's crew working as one organism, as tightly knit and adaptive as the Gorn themselves. 5. The Federation's philosophy as a tactical advantage. It may sound strange to argue that Starfleet's ideals could be a tactical advantage against a predator species, but this has been a core Star Trek theme since the beginning. The Gorn view all other species as prey. They cannot imagine true cooperation, empathy, or nonviolent problem solving. The Enterprise crew, on the other hand, embodies diversity, collaboration, and innovation. What the Gorn see as weakness may actually be strength. Where the Gorn fight as individuals bound by hierarchy and instinct, Pike's crew fights as equals bound by trust. Episodes like Memento Mori already showcase this contrast. The Gorn rely on intimidation and brute force, while Starfleet uses teamwork and creativity. In the long run, this difference may be exactly why Pike's crew can endure encounters with a species that seems biologically superior. 6. The necessity of survival without contradicting Kirk's canon. One question that looms over Strange New Worlds is how to handle canon. In the original series episode, Arena, Captain Kirk faces the Gorn for the first time, or at least, Starfleet believes it's the first time. This presents a challenge for Pike's era. How can his crew survive repeated Gorn encounters without breaking continuity? The answer may already lie in how Starfleet classifies Gorn knowledge. Each encounter in Strange New Worlds has been either contained, unconfirmed, or deliberately buried by Starfleet Command. In Hegemony, Admiral April explicitly warns Pike that Starfleet will keep details of the Gorn under wraps, citing political and tactical concerns. This means Pike's crew can survive and even understand the Gorn far better than their successors, but that knowledge won't spread widely. By the time of Kirk's mission, Starfleet may treat the Gorn as a rumored species rather than a documented one, explaining the events of Arena without contradiction. 7. Emotional arcs as survival catalysts. Beyond tactics and canon, Strange New Worlds thrives on tying survival to character development. Each Gorn encounter so far has been less about defeating the enemy and more about what the crew learns about themselves. Lon learning to accept her trauma and trust others. Spock grappling with his emotions under extreme pressure. Chapel proving her resourcefulness under terrifying circumstances. Pike facing his foreknowledge of doom while still choosing to fight for life. If the crew ultimately survives the Gorn, it won't simply be because they found the right weapon or strategy. It will be because they